For the third straight series, the Phillies dropped game one, their fifth loss in 7 games. But we got the return of Ranger Suarez, JT Realmuto, and tonight's Zack Wheeler. All that's coming up as we preview tonight's matchup, talk trade deadline updates, and more on PHLY Phillies podcast. It's not quite the way we expected game one to go against the Minnesota Twins. We got some positives in Ranger Suarez return, but there was no run support. Where was the Phillies offense? We got to get into all that. Welcome to PHLY Phillies podcast. Happy Tuesday. Wish it was a happier Tuesday, but we're here, guys. We're here. Game one is done. We're going to recap all of that. We've got to get into our daily updates on the MLB trade deadline rumors for the Phillies, especially now more than ever. And, of course, we've got to look ahead to tonight's matchup. We got Zack Wheeler takes the mound in his return. Now, guys, I wish I could say that I was coming into today feeling good. It was not a great day last night. I know some of you in the chat. What's up, everybody in the chat? First one, as usual, Chris Slemmer coming in hot, #1 spot. Frank Barber, Philly 007, K-Red. Yeah, this is a little bit of a slump right now. That's 5 losses for the Phillies in their last 7 games. That's 3 straight series where they've lost the first game, something that we've been talking about as a big positive of theirs, where they jump out not only early leads, but also early leads in terms of the series. And it felt like yesterday was going to go well, especially after Bryce Harper's 2-run homer, and then it all seemed to get flat from there. It was kind of a funky game. And just there was nothing happening on the offensive side. 4 hits on the day for the Phillies total. The game was delayed. So before even all the chaos, it was delayed. I hate delays. 9-10 start.
Yeah, it became like a West Coast game all of a sudden real quick. The first inning, to your point, they had, I think, 4 balls hit over 95 miles an hour. And then the rest of the game, nothing. Bryce Harper, we'll get into the fans and their stupidity about the chants they were giving him. But he absolutely, the first at-bat at Target Field, smokes it, 113.5 miles an hour off the bat. That was a no doubt about her, and you're feeling great. You're going, all right, Rangers got a lead in the first inning. He looked good. He's on a pitch count. He's got to work effectively tonight, and then nothing. And I am going to raise my hand and admit something. It was one of those nights that the offense was so dead. Once the Twins took the lead, I'm going to bed.
Yeah.
I just you have those games occasionally where you just know the offense has got nothing. And we'll get to Tyler's points about the pitcher because Tyler had some astute observations on Twitter last night, or X, about maybe why the Phillies struggled with him. But you just knew, like, it just kind of felt like after that first inning, it was over.
Yeah, and it's sad because you had the Bryce Harper home run, as you mentioned, the velocity, but 424 feet to right field off of an 86.5 mile per hour cutter. That was a home run in all 30 ballparks. Bryce Harper, that was his first time ever playing at Target Field in his 13 seasons.
Wild.
It was great. I know, it's insane. The Phillies haven't even played there since 2016.
Did you see the lineup they showed of the last time they played in Target Field?
Yeah.
Tom McCarthy couldn't even remember Peter Bourgeois' name.
Because it's not Peter Bourgeois.
Well, that's what he said at first. And then I think it was Ben Davis was like, Peter Borges. Is it Borges?
Borges, yeah.
Yeah, Borges. And Tom was like, oh, man, it's been so long. Sorry,
it's been
Peter.
That long.
I didn't even remember your name.
And
I was
they were like so fascinated by
this
Target
guy's not even a real person.
You can cross him off the list. He's dead. But he was like, sorry, Peter. But that's how bad those teams were.
And it was also funny because they were so mesmerized by Target Field and everything. And it's like, well, they haven't been there. It's like you haven't been. It's.
Did anybody notice the black dirt around home plate? It has to be some sort of super absorbent drying.
I'm assuming it's a rain delay type of stuff.
Because like some pellets to put down to help. Because they mentioned how they have a really fast draining system.
Yeah.
And
is that 7 inches of rain in an hour?
Yeah, which is insane.
There's no way.
I mean, why are we not seeing more ballparks and stadiums utilizing?
Do you think it was
the same
like
system?
a litter?
That's what it seemed like, a cat litter.
Like a cat litter.
It's probably, it's probably like a diamond.
Like to say
Tyler's
probably like a diamond dust.
Where are you, Oz? We're going to talk about your cat.
Oh, no, we're not doing this.
One positive from the last 24
like
hours, guys.
Litter.
You know what? Let's start there. The positive wasn't just Bryce Harper's 2-run homer. The positive was Tyler Zulli found an adorable kitty. I wish you could show the people the picture.
I know you're not ready.
Yeah, show the cat.
I have to send it to the computer.
Yeah, take some time to put that together.
Tyler's adopting a new cat.
No, we're not. Stop it. Don't do this.
Jamie and I are actively trying to convince Tyler to keep this kitty. It was so small and curled up in a little ball. It was adorable. How do you let that go?
Little milk in a saucer.
My wife was out walking the dog, found this cat, brought it in.
Pull up the picture.
Here's the thing.
Here, I'll put it in Slack.
The cat is so well behaved. It's clearly trained because we put it in like a little secluded play area that we had from our last cat, and it knew what to do. Like, it used the litter box, and it knew what it was. Very playful. So this is somebody's cat. Like, I'm not keeping this cat.
Provolone John got a kitty on Friday. You guys can be kitty mates.
Tyler, I put it in Slack. If you want to show people your adorable
the picture of the kitty, because you guys are probably wondering, why are you guys talking about cats? The Phillies lost. We're panicking. No, this kitten is adorable, and it's what we all need right now, because I know in the chat you guys are saying, relax, don't panic. You know what can help you not panic? Adorable kittens.
Yeah, it's like people on Twitter. They're always like, I'm having a bad day. Can somebody send me some
Drop
puppy
me some
pics?
puppies. Drop me some kittens. And Tyler, this is what I think this kitten was
a Red
right
October
on time.
kitten. This is good karma, Tyler. You're going to take care of this kitten, and the Phillies are going to win the World Series because of it.
Oh,
look at that guy. Look at that little guy.
Look at the face.
So this is how we have a cat that passed away.
Cute. I could
but
snuggle
she showed up at our back door in South Philly during a rainstorm and was just like pawing at the window. And my wife, we're pet people.
Look at that.
So she was like, well, it's a really bad storm. Let's just bring her in. And I was like, all right, fine. But like, she's only in the basement. We're going to check for tags and chips and all that. We're going to hang a sign.
Deja vu, because Tyler's doing all the same things.
Next thing you know, we had a cat for 6 years.
My wife just confirmed there's no chip.
Oh, it's your cat now. Tyler's trying to stay strong, but yes, it's been brought in the house. And
everybody
now
in the chat, give a thumbs up for Tyler's new cat. What an adorable little kid.
Yeah, we're going to help you name.
Somebody else's
You're going to help you name the kitten.
It's your cat.
Well, all right, guys.
I guess we'll talk Phillies again.
Yeah, let's talk some more baseball. Hopefully that kitten helped to bring a smile to your face, because it has been a pretty tough day.
It's
again,
objectively a very cute cat.
Yeah, very cute cat.
So cute.
You're
so
screwed.
Cute.
What's the name?
I'm not naming the cat.
Yeah, okay.
I got some names for you. So yes, we had Bryce Harper hit his hardest hit homer of the season. Passed it by more than 4 miles per hour.
By 4?
Yes.
Damn.
Yes. His 7th hardest hit homer since StatCast started tracking back in 2015.
Wow.
So top 7 of his career happened last night. You would think that would lead to a contagious energy and vibe being high. No. It wasn't actually. It was actually the peak of the game for the Phillies offense, because from there moving forward, I say the Phillies actually got Phillied, it felt like last night. You look at the statistics, you look at the play, and I know, as you mentioned, Tyler's got some deep dives for us. But you have that home run, and then from there moving forward, the Phillies were just, offense was non-existent. I mean, you have Ober, who looked phenomenal, looked like he was an all-star pitcher. Bailey Ober finishes with 7 innings pitched, just 4 hits on the day, the 2 earned runs off of Bryce's home run, 1 walk, 4 strikeouts. You actually had the Twins going deep into the game with Bailey Ober, which is something we typically see from the Phillies. Usually they're able to rock and rattle that starting pitcher early. It felt like that was the case yesterday, and then after that, it all went downhill, and the only ones that got hits, Trey, Bryce, Alec, and actually Bryson got a hit yesterday. But it was just bizarre because, and we'll get into Ranger Suarez's game and his numbers. As much as we've been talking lately about the bullpen, the starting pitching, overall, the dips in the pitching staff, it was the offense last night. It was just that you can't win games if you're not scoring runs, and it's not enough to score 2 runs. The Twins had come into yesterday, the last 50% of their games, they scored 3 or less runs. Then they put up 7 last night. This has been a team that offensively has been inconsistent. You had a chance to pounce on them. If you build off that 2-0 lead, you score some more runs, now the game is pretty much over. But they never, ever continued to extend that lead, allowed the Twins to stick around, and I definitely felt once it got to the 5th inning, I'm like, oh, that's it. I feel like once you get to the 4th, 5th inning, if you're not scoring runs, you're not even hitting the ball, you're not even getting on base, it's not magically going to click.
Yeah, I really had no guilt about going to bed. I just felt like...
I was like, it already was a late start with the 9-10
I was like,
delay.
if I wake up, worst case, they come back and win, I can check out the condensed game on the MLB app. But, like, it was just one of those games. And once they lost the lead, it's not rare. I'm trying to look it up real quick, what percentage of games are won in Major League Baseball scoring 2 runs or less. It has to be pretty low.
Yeah.
The only thing I found on a quick Google search was that 30% of MLB games are won by, actually 28.6 are won by a 1-run differential, which is interesting. So I'll see if I can find the numbers on that. But I would imagine 2 runs or less, like you're probably winning, I don't know, 17% or less of the time. So yeah, like Ranger, we'll get into him. But offensively, they were just stagnant last night.
So stagnant.
And I thought Bryce Harper's home run and Trey Turner being on a tear was going to wake things up a little bit, and it didn't.
So this is not exactly the question that you're looking for, but just a really quick Google search says last year in 2023, so it's the closest sample size I can find.
Sure.
20.7% of regular season games were games where the eventual loser was up by at least 2 or more runs. That means 1 out of every 5 games has a 3 or more run swing. That's insane to me. I would have never expected that.
28 point what?
20.7%.
20.
Of the
Exactly
games
1 out of 5 for the most part.
Basically 1 in 5 games, one team had a 2-run lead. The other team ended up winning the game.
That shocks you? I feel like that feels right.
I feel like 2 runs. See, the difference is 2 runs, you're very much still in the game.
For sure.
Like, you can easily get, an RBI, you get on base, you easily can swing that. That's why I feel like the Phillies being up by 2, had they scored 2 more runs, you take a 4-run, 5-run lead, I think that's where it feels very large. Because even if the Twins were to score, you still have a nice lead, you can still continue. But once you're only up by 2, especially as the game is wearing on, and now they know, okay, we only have to focus on winning the next 3 innings, you're giving them all the confidence in the world. You have to put them away. So that actually makes sense to me. If you said it's a 3 or more run swing, that doesn't make sense, actually. Yeah, especially with the league being the way that it is. Like, there's a lot of teams that have the ability to score runs, and all it takes now is, like I said, 2 innings, 3 innings that you have to focus on winning to win the game.
So I will add to this. Over the course of the last 120 years of baseball,
oh boy,
an away team going into the bottom of the first up 2-0 has happened 13,788 times.
Okay.
The visitor wins that game about 8,500 times. So that means the visitor has won a game in which they've gone up 2-0 in the first inning just under 62% of the time.
Wow.
In basically the trackable history of baseball.
Wow.
Crazy numbers.
That's good number dig right there.
I know. Look at you.
Whoever GregStoll.com
really is, open things up mathematically.
This is unreal. It's like a basic website that like somebody with any kind of coding skill would have been able to do, but it's so customizable.
Is this your new favorite website?
This is amazing.
I feel like you just found your new favorite site. We are going to get into what the Phillies need, because I think all of these struggles, especially offensively, late bullpen struggles, have consistently led us back to the major conversation around the trade deadline, which is 1 week away. We will get into the discussion of who the Phillies should be targeting, because it's now honestly a really good time. The areas of weakness, got to figure out a way to go make it happen. I know in the chat you guys are talking about Kobe Bryant 24. What a YouTube name. Talking about who the Phillies need to target, and Luis Robert, your guy, Jamie, Tanner Scott.
Jim Salisbury threw cold water all in my face yesterday.
I know. I'm sorry. Yeah. I know also Philly 007, you're mentioning how a lot of guys are going 0-3, 0-4. Yep, you look at Kyle Schwarber 0-4, JT 0-4, who just came back. Nick 0-3. Weston, Yoro, Brandon, all 0-4. A lot of zeros across the stat sheet last night. Nick Castellanos 0-4. You just can't have this amount of, no offense, I should say. Mickey Durkin would like the website, by the way, Tyler. I think your website that you've stumbled on, your new love, is one that folks...
So what I did, I Googled win expectancy... What did I do? MLB win total with 2 runs or less was what I got the first one. And then I found a win expectancy finder.
A win expectancy.
That's how I came up with the information.
Interesting.
Yeah, before we get to Tyler's points about the pitcher last night, why do fans feel it necessary to chant overrated at Bryce Harper? I feel like if you challenge Bryce Harper, he's going to produce. This man is a 2-time MVP. He's going to be in Cooperstown one day. And you're hitting him with overrated chants?
I would just boo him. Overrated. I don't like when you say that because he's not overrated.
He's the furthest thing from overrated.
You can dislike a guy. You don't have to cheer for Bryce Harper when he comes to your ballparks and it's a sold out crowd and the incredible turnout because everybody's there to see the Phillies. But to chant overrated is dumb. It actually makes zero sense. Just boo him. I even say you suck, which is not true at all. But to say like overrated and like, oh, you're so cool. Like you're chanting overrated.
And he's like, oh,
so an all-star, an MVP.
I feel like it happened in the playoffs last year. Like Atlanta or somebody was on him and he stepped up and just smoked a ball. Yeah. What are you doing? Bryce Harper is not overrated. Do not challenge. I mean, keep challenging him, you morons. But like, what?
Yeah, I know James Bond Flyers is saying jealousy. Linda's making a good point. They've never even seen him play in Minnesota. How are you chanting overrated? You've never even seen this man play in Minnesota. You finally get to see him out in Minnesota, and you're chanting overrated. I guess they've been waiting years for this one. They've been ready to get the overrated chant going.
They've been waiting for years.
It does only help us, as Jonathan Might is saying. Maybe everybody needs to get chanted, needs to hear overrated when they take the plate to go up to bat. Because if that helps Bryce, maybe it'll help the rest of the team.
Keep it up.
For sure.
Tyler, you are always amazing in your nerdy stats that you will dig up last night. And I'm perusing Twitter, watching the Phils.
Okay.
And I hear an extension rate percentage get tweeted by one Tyler Zulli.
So
please explain your theory on Ober last night.
Sure. So you don't need extension rate numbers to realize your eyeballs will tell you that Bailey Ober is a very tall human being.
Yes.
6'9" to be exact.
Damn.
Huge. Huge
and
man.
So when you're 6'9", you already have an advantage in terms of your perception on the mound going downward, right?
And isn't your wingspan almost the same as your height?
6'9".
It's about what they usually say.
So his wingspan is 6'9" also.
Yes,
So,
exactly.
On top of the fact,
top
of the fact that Bailey Ober is a tall human being who is already arching down the mound, his extension rate, which is
for those that don't know extension rates,
is the point of release of the pitch from after, he goes through the windup, goes through the stretch, where he delivers that pitch is what you're considered to be your extension rate. It's a separation between the mound, the actual physical mound, and where you land and release. He's in the 96th percentile this year of extension rate. Every year of his career, he has been at least in the 96th percentile rate. Jeez. And in fact, a couple of seasons.
I was going to say, has he been 100?
He's been in the 99th percentile twice. So even if you're not throwing overly hard, and we saw Bailey Ober last night was probably throwing somewhere 91 to 93 with his fastball, not an excessive velocity, but even if you're not throwing overly hard, when you are 6'9" and you are barreling down the mound and your extension rate is as far as it is, you've already cut off a significant chunk of that 60 feet 6 inches that a hitter needs every micro nanosecond of to determine pitch, determine velocity, determine strike ball, and to determine if they want to swing. Hitting's hard enough as it is. But when you've got this 6'9" monster barreling down at you, all of a sudden 91 out of the hand looks a lot harder because it feels like it's on top of you right away. So I don't want to sit here and say that they stunk because Bailey Ober's tall. That's A, an oversimplification, and B...
No, but if they haven't seen him before...
I will say this. I think it's difficult enough to pick up pitches out of somebody's hand based on deception. But when they're basically on top of you with stride and extension all the way down, 91, A, feels like it's a lot faster, and B, you've cut 60 feet 6 inches down to like 52, 53 feet. I mean, in a sport where you need split-second decisioning, that makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah, his max was 93 last night. You were right on it. His lowest fastball was 90.2. So he was living in that Ranger Suarez zone. But I think it's a good point. Like,
it's a great point.
I mean 96 to 99th percentile of extension rate
is insane. I know, as Philly 007 is mentioning, another thing is he's a guy that's every pitch is allowing the pitch clock to wind down in the final second or two, takes his time, and then delivers a great,
when I talk
pitch.
Extension rates, typically, Renee, I prefer to do it with Miller Lite in my hand. I don't know if you knew that about me, but when I get into real nerdy pitching talk about extension rates and fastball velocities because of extension rates, I like to do it with a cold, delicious Miller Lite in your hand. And that's why it's great. It's the original light beer since 1975, and nothing better than sitting around Citizens Bank Park with your buddies talking pitcher extension rates with a cold Miller Lite in your hand. Just guys being dudes or ladies being ladies. Just talking ball, talking extension rates with the best light beer out there, the original light beer since 1975. And to this day, still the best one. Back a couple years ago, I was a big like double IPA guy, and like, you know, I still enjoy an occasional hazy. But now, like that I'm getting a little older, I need those light beers that I can drink and not feel bloated and gross with. And that's exactly what Miller Lite is. Whether I'm walking on the golf course, at a game with the girls or some buddies, at a bar, in a pool on vacation, Miller Lite always tastes great. It's less filling, and it's the original. And why would you change anything when you're the best? A light beer that tastes like beer should taste. The original since 1975. And you don't have to choose what's best. Miller Lite has great taste and is less filling. My daughter Skylar really likes their TV commercial because she goes, great taste and it's less filling. It's both. She started doing that to us. It's both. So good job on the advertising, Miller Lite. But you don't have to choose what's best. Miller Lite has great taste and is less filling. Tastes like Miller time. To get Miller Lite delivered right to your door, visit MillerLite.com/PHLY Phils, or you can find it pretty much anywhere that sells beer. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories per 12 ounces. Fewer calories and carbs than premium regular beer. It's both!
Well, while you're making great decisions for your drinking choice, make sure that you're also making good decisions for your finances. With our friends over at TrueMark Financial Credit Union, they make sure to provide you with better rates. They also provide you with a lot of digital tools to allow you to be able to keep up to date on your finances as you're planning for your future, that trip, that house, that car, that pet, or whatever expenses you're looking, college funds. You can make sure that with TrueMark Financial Credit Union, take advantage of building your credit, taking care of your finances, and also making sure that there's no identity theft or someone trying to hack into your accounts. I've dealt with my fair share of financial issues with whether it's I had somebody try to steal and hack into my bank account. I've had issues with my credit score, or an issue, I should say, with a balance on my credit score that was actually incorrect. You want to stay up to date on all of that. And with TrueMark Financial Credit Union, they allow you to do just that. And they even make it easy that, let's say you're traveling to Minnesota. You want to watch the Phillies take on the Twins and cheer them on to a win tonight and tomorrow. You can also easily keep track of your spending with TrueMark Financial's mobile app. They've gone mobile. Digital banking. We love digital banking. And TrueMark Financial's mobile app has the ability for you to access your accounts anytime, anywhere. Also, make sure you can check your balances, view your transactions, make transfers, pay bills, and more importantly, it's all from the convenience of your phone. We all love the convenience of taking care of our finances from our phone. Yes, we do. And with TrueMark Financial, you can also add credits to your mobile wallet. So now you can get to the cash register and easily scan your phone, or also makes it easier for those online payments. So if you're planning on a trip or even buying a house, did you know that TrueMark Financial has mortgage specialists that offer guidance on loan options and terms? They also will help you assess your finances and credit score to determine borrowing capacity, as well as helping you to save for a down payment and budgeting for closing costs. So lots of benefits with TrueMark. TrueMark Financial is federally insured by the NCUA and is an equal opportunity lender. For more information, make sure to go visit TrueMark.com/PHLY. Again, that is TrueMark.com/PHLY. All right, as we talk pitching, and we talked about Bailey Ober, the 6'9" pitcher for the Twins, who ended up throwing only 83 pitches last night. He retired 17 of the last 18 Phillies batters. Of course, we saw a number of plays, the double play grounder, just different plays that Bailey Ober really made the Phillies just a tough day overall. And then he also is just a good pitcher. He's got a 2.23 ERA in his last 6 starts. He is 4-1 on the season. But there's another pitcher that was also good. He just unfortunately didn't get any run support from his teammates. Let's talk about Ranger Suarez, because your adorable Ranger did return to the mound. I know. He made his first appearance back after we found out he was dealing with back issues. Now, Ranger Suarez, of course, missed the All-Star game, his first opportunity to play. Glad that he did miss it. Gave him a chance to rehab. During the break, he had time to just work on some bullpen sessions. I know Rob and the staff were heavily managing him. And Ranger was saying how he felt good after last night and how it's just important when you're healthy, you don't have to think about the little things. You don't have to think about what's hurting you. You can just focus on working. And that's what he was able to do Monday night. He was able to just throw pitches that he wanted, good pitches, and some, unfortunately, were not as good. But for Ranger, he finished the day with having struck out 4, walked 1 in 5 1/3 innings, did give up 3 runs on the day. His sinker was averaging 91.6 miles per hour, which is actually an increase from his season average, and his career low 90 mile per hour in his last start from before the break. Before the break, of course, we know he had dropped off. He was really struggling. And for Ranger to come back and be able to take the mound, his curveball had 5 swings and misses, which is tied for his 3rd most whiffs this entire season. And it was nice to see him be able to get back. I felt like for Ranger, 5 1/3 innings was kind of right on the spot. You could see he didn't really want to leave the mound. He was actually feeling good when he was pulled. But I thought that for how he's been laboring a little bit, it was time. We also had talked about this last week. The Ranger Suarez is at career-high numbers for innings pitched. He threw a career-high 114 innings heading into the All-Star break. He has never thrown more than 155 1/3 innings all season. And he's never started more than 29 games, and he's looking on pace to pass both of those. So I think to pull him after 5 1/3, Tyler and I had talked about it before, the Phillies are probably going to try to manage him a little bit more. You might not see him, forget complete games, going 7, 8 innings into games. It might be, let's get you 5, 6 clean innings, keep you healthier, get less is more sometimes. And I think for Ranger, being that he's in uncharted territory, pitching more innings than he ever has, you don't want to stretch him too thin.
Yeah, I would if Tyler Phillips goes out there and throws, another 2 impressive starts, I would fully expect a little bit of a 6-man rotation in the month of August.
That's a good point.
Once Taiwan returns, just to give these guys a little bit of a break. I mean, Wheeler's kind of been going through it a little bit. Ranger got 10 days off there. I actually thought watching the game live that his velocity was down a little bit. But it turns out it wasn't. Diving into, MLB Savant, his sinker was actually up 0.7 miles an hour on the yearly average. His fastball was down 0.1, so it was pretty much right on it. His curveball was up 0.7 miles per hour on his yearly average. Changeup was down 1 mile per hour, but the cutter was up 1 mile per hour. So 3 of his 5 pitches were actually above the yearly velocity averages that he's been throwing. So that's really good to see. That 23 pitch inning where he kind of got out of it with just the 1 run.
Yes.
I went, all right.
That was huge.
That was it. Like, maybe this is the corner you turn. You got yourself out of a jam, avoided the big trouble, and then Manuel Margot unfortunately busted it open the following inning. After that, all in all, I think a decent-ish performance from Ranger. It's not one where I put the loss on him. I thought his command was good. He seemed to look a little bit more at ease than he had in terms of body language than his last couple starts. So all in all, a decent night from Ranger.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's a baby step towards, returning to glory here.
Well, the other part of it is your offense has to help you out.
Oh, definitely.
You have Bryson Stott was the last hit in the 2nd inning, and then they went 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th inning just without even being able to get a hit. Forget scoring runs. So now the inning is shorter. It's a quicker time that Ranger's taking the mound again. You're also coming back in feeling the need to kind of save your team, carry your team. And for Ranger, who in his last 3 starts prior to the All-Star break had an 8.62 ERA in those 3 starts, we saw the struggles against the Oakland A's where he had that 3rd inning drop. So last night actually made me extremely nervous. The 3rd inning was when he gave up 4 runs and just it was like a 30-plus innings pitches, in that inning. And for Ranger, you could see 2 good innings, then a bad 3rd, another good inning, and there was like up and down roller coaster. So last night made me nervous as we got in the 3rd inning, and I even tweeted it out, and the guy was like, wait, when did this happen? I was like, it just happened against the A's where we saw the 3rd inning was very long, hard for Ranger to get out of, and he struggled. Yet yesterday, I don't put that on him. I thought and bless you, by the way, so rude of me. I thought
that was a cough, actually, not a sneeze.
Huh?
Yeah, that was just a little, only it sounded sneezy. So I get why you said that. Wow. But thank you regardless.
Oh, okay. But for Ranger, who has been struggling to have a chance to take the mound, leave it feeling pretty good, you need these small things. It's the same thing we've been talking about for Jose Alvarado, the same thing that we're looking at with Ranger Suarez. Get him leaving the mound feeling good. It might be less. It might be a lower leverage situation for Jose, just like for Ranger. It might be less innings. But allowing him to leave feeling good about himself and also knowing he had that back strain, you do not want to overextend him, and now he's feeling sore. He's dealing with pain because that's the last thing you want is to over-aggravate or make him just have to do too much outside of himself.
Yeah. His best pitch last night was the curveball. He got 5 whiffs on it. It seems like his strikeout kind of finishing pitch to a degree hasn't really been there in the last couple starts.
Tyler must be nerding out on his
Tyler's looking at kitty pics.
I am so sorry.
That's all right.
He's on his new favorite website. I can tell.
Kittennames.com.
I was literally scrolling through Bailey Ober's stat sheet.
Oh my God.
Just, like,
I knew you were so locked
I am so sorry.
I knew you were paying attention to either the new website.
No, I was scrolling Bailey Ober's baseball savant, got hooked. I apologize.
No,
that's
all
on
right.
me. That's bad production work.
The curveball was his best pitch last night. It seems like a sinker, and his changeup, which a lot of times I feel like is his strikeout pitch. He wasn't really getting the swings and misses last night.
Yeah.
He also, on the good side of things, wasn't really getting hit too hard.
No, that's a good point.
The hardest hit ball in the night was a sinker at 105 miles an hour. But most of the other pitches outside of a changeup were all hit below 93 miles an hour off the bat. So the exit velocity, it's not like they were crushing him.
Right.
He had his location. He wasn't getting a ton of swing and miss stuff last night. But all in all, I think it's a quasi-positive step in the right direction.
Yeah, I agree. It just felt like it's going to take time for Ranger to fully get back in the sense that where he started the season is superhuman. Like, it's extremely difficult to maintain
There's definitely
the entire
a degree
season.
of, like, coming back to reality.
Yeah, and I think even knowing that he has been pitching at a level that's forget just his own play, but across Major League Baseball is like really difficult to maintain. And then on the side of him being at a career high of innings pitched, this is a lot of expectation that now is on him that we probably didn't even have coming into the season. Yes, we thought he'd be a great number 3. We always have talked about Ranger in a lot of positive ways, but nobody expected him to pitch the way he has so far. And so for him to have had this opportunity to refresh and reset, and also dealing with that back strain, which makes sense. In the course of a season, you're going to have some lingering injuries here and there.
Suck.
Right.
It affects your entire body. So, like, I know it's just a strain, but, like, it's just, if you've ever experienced back problems, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I'm lucky in that it's been few and far between, but when it does happen, it consumes you. You know what I mean? Like, you think about it constantly because it affects your entire body. So everything you do, you end up thinking about your back, and it just sucks. So I'm sure there's been a little bit of a mental drain on him in regards to that back. And if you're, I don't know, maybe looking for the right employee or looking for your next new company, and there's a little bit of mental strain with you, and you need to find that high quality individual that's right for your company, you should use Indeed. They are driven by the search for better. And when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match. Just do it with Indeed. If you need a hire, you need Indeed. Indeed is matching in your hiring platform. I've been on it personally 1,000 times in my life. That's not an exact number, but you know what I'm talking about. They have over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, with a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. So ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect better with candidates. And Indeed doesn't just help you hire faster. 93%, that is a high percentage, of employers agree Indeed delivers the highest quality matches compared to other job sites. So don't waste your time. Just go with the best, and that's Indeed. We all know Indeed. We've all used Indeed. If you're a company that's looking for the right employer or employee, then you got to use Indeed because they will bring the best right to you. Stop wasting time looking for people and just use Indeed. And listeners of this show are going to get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/AllCity. Just go to Indeed.com/AllCity right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/AllCity. Terms and conditions apply. You need to hire? You need Indeed.
Indeed you do.
Indubitably indeed.
And you also need to make sure you're taking advantage of the best spot to buy merchandise, sports and entertainment merchandise with the leading manufacturers, with our friends over at FOCO. They have the product lines that include apparel, accessories, hats, slippers, flip-flops, sunglasses, novelty items, collectibles, and so much more. And they are the best officially licensed gear for all sports and fandoms. And over at FOCO, they're tremendous. I know I've spoken to some of the different people at FOCO many times, and they are always dropping new merch to keep up to date with the holidays, with any major points of the season, any historic moments, anything that's breaking news that's happening in the sports world. They are dropping up-to-date merchandise for you to be able to rock. So whether you want to rock that hoodie or jacket or beachwear or even the overalls, they've got the pants overalls, the shorts overalls, which I have a pair of both. And they've also given us some great merch here. And FOCO has hooked us up at PHLY, provided some awesome pieces that we've been able to have displayed on our sets and also just to wear out at the games. And you can wear them out at the games too. FOCO always has our back for Philly sports, and they have yours too. Get the best gear around by using the link in our description. And for all non-presale items, use the promo code PHLY10 for 10% off over at FOCO. Again, that's PHLY10. Get you 10% off when you shop today at FOCO. All right, to wrap up last night as we're talking about Ranger Suarez, it was definitely great to see. I thought overall looked like a solid outing for him, getting him that confidence going, that routine back. Also, as you mentioned, Jamie, with back pain, it's hard when you're thinking about it. So as Ranger alluded to, it was nice to no longer have to think about it and to be able to just go out and pitch. Now, one thing that the players don't have to think about as much, and hopefully they're not thinking about because it's beyond their control, that we're all thinking about, is the trade deadline. The trade deadline is 1 week away. And just a reminder, we've got our trade deadline show where you guys can hang with us as we're going to be having some fun. July 30th is getting closer and closer.
I have been to Billy Murphy's
we'll be live at Billy Murphy's from 5 to 7. There's Jamie's favorite picture in the world at Billy Murphy's.
Who do I have to sue for this picture?
5 to 7 p.m. Come hang with us.
If my
next
wife sees
Tuesday.
this picture, she's going to leave me.
She was right there when this picture was taken.
Me, yeah.
She literally is actually right next to the camera.
But it's a horrible picture.
But you're so happy. It's a candid.
Well, it's because I have a cold, delicious, tall boy of Miller Lite right in front of me. That's why I'm
it's
happy.
like the classic candid. We were talking about it Friday, and it's like, you got to get your candid pose down. It's like,
I hate having my picture taken.
Oh, okay.
I think you've learned this about me by now.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
Which is I chose quite an industry to get into.
Wrong
for somebody
industry
that likes
to be
having, but Billy Murphy's, any Irish saloon. I mean, come on, that's a good bar right there. Billy Murphy's in East Falls. Hopefully, some of you can make it, hang out with us. Hopefully, we'll be talking about the big Randy Arozarena trade. Maybe they'll shock us and get Luis Robert, and probably neither of those are going to happen. But we can drink some Miller Lights, hang out during the trade deadline, and have a good time.
We can always hope. Because, of course, there are some trade targets in play. The first things first, it's because of injuries. Just some injury updates for you, though, before we even get into our trade deadline talk specifically. Taijuan Walker, who's still expected to return possibly sometime in the next week and a half. They're saying like early August. He is scheduled to throw a bullpen session tomorrow at Target Field on July 24th. He's going to be throwing a live batting practice on July 27th at Citizens Bank Park. And then he's going to need a couple of rehab starts before rejoining the rotation. Spencer Turnbull is expected late August. That right lat strain has really taken him some time to get back.
Is it wrong that I expect really nothing from him?
Turnbull?
Yeah.
No, I think we've gotten all we're going to get. It's like when you squeeze the juice out of a fruit. Like, this is it. There's no more juice, I think.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Spencer Turnbull
very low
not expected to even return until late August. He did start playing catch in Clearwater on July 13th. And then now he's expected during this week, Rob is saying, to throw on flat ground from 120 feet this week, and then should be progressing to throw bullpen by as soon as the end of the week. But it's really taken him some time to get back. Andrew Painter, actually, a positive. No, he's not getting back any sooner than 2025. That timeline is still the same. but Andrew Painter is progressing to throw off a mound in Clearwater.
Wow.
So he's making some progress.
faster than I would have thought.
I know. He's making some progress. Because
remember in February when we talked about it, Dombrowski said, like, nah, he's pretty much not even going to throw this year. There's no reason to rush him. I mean, he's probably not going to be up until, next year, probably around the All-Star game in reality. But, like, after the time of service date, like, if he's, I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to get ahead of myself, but I didn't expect him back throwing this early.
I did not either. But he is throwing off of a mound in Clearwater. So his timeline is still expected that we'll see him in the game in 2025. But it's great to see that they're able to progress him along. So with all that being said,
Taiwan's going to be a big role, though, when he comes back.
He is. He's going to be huge because
especially
it allows
if you want to go to that 6-man rotation. And give Ranger and Zack and Aaron some time off.
Mm-hmm.
And that's dependent on Tyler Phillips not drowning.
I get nervous because it's hard to – I don't know if what Tyler Phillips has shown us is just him excitement.
Adrenaline.
If he can actually maintain that.
Because his numbers in the minors weren't good.
No.
And we've seen, Vance Worley's and plenty of guys throughout the years come up, make an immediate impact, and you think you got something, and then
just did that.
Yeah, so we'll see. But I think it's, a 6-man rotation is dependent on Tyler Phillips.
Honestly, it's one thing to be able to do it for one game. It's another to be able to maintain that, to get the routine of, like, I'm going to be the fifth starter. I got to be prepared every week for my time. So I'm hopefully Tyler Phillips can at least maintain until Taijuan Walker gets back.
Yeah.
Because that would definitely be nice. If we can have a 6-man rotation and he's able to continue, even better, icing on the cake. But unfortunately, there are some guys that 1 or 2, 3 starts is really all you can get from them. And at some point they turn back into a pumpkin. So because of all this, it has led to our consistent conversation around the trade deadline. So every day here until the trade deadline, we're going to try to give you guys some updates on some targets for the Phillies. Now, for Major League Baseball as a whole, they've been dropping some names of guys that teams are – you're really struggling today. Smoke a pack?
Yeah, I know.
Just kidding.
Allergies over the last 48 hours. I don't know if being away for the week or something. I came home and just – because I haven't really experienced allergies much this year.
Yeah.
But coming back home, it just rocked me.
Yeah, actually, I was thinking that, being away for that time. And then also the weather's been kind of cooler and rainier. Yeah. I don't know if that's brought up pollen. I don't know. I'm not an expert. Yeah. But Major League Baseball and different writers and sources have been dropping trade targets. I know you guys in the chat have been dropping your names. Guys like Tanner Scott, Estevez, Rooker, the list goes on and on. Some names that have been thrown out there are Jack Flaherty, Luis Robert, Garrett Crochet, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Randy Rosarena. So today, let's talk about 2 guys that the Phillies could be looking to target.
Pitching tonight, which could be his last start for the White Sox.
Yeah, and also he has been, is he a starter? Is he a reliever? He's an odd one there. But there are teams that are looking to rebuild, which is why a guy like Vladdy and the Blue Jays might be up to sell. There are teams that are looking to bolster their rosters like the Phillies are looking to do to be able to make that World Series push. And obviously, we know the areas of need for the Phillies. Bullpen arms and the outfield. And there are a couple of names that have been brought up.
Before we get into these, were you surprised at all that Jim said yesterday he thinks it's clear the bullpen is the bigger issue?
I've been reading that, actually. There's been a good amount of sources that have said the Phillies are going to try to prioritize the bullpen more than...
Does that mean that they have internal Jose Alvarado fears?
Well, that's why some of the names
because it's
have
weird
been
all of
brought
a sudden
up.
Now it's like, well, the bullpen's clearly the bigger need, and it's like, is it though?
I don't think it is, in my opinion. I think I trust Jose Alvarado more than I trust a platoon situation with like a Weston Wilson. Like, I think that
I don't know anymore. My Jose Alvarado
like to trust Jose
trust
more.
Is fading. So I guess it makes sense, but you hear that stuff now and you wonder internally,
right? Are
they having some Alvarado panic?
What I keep reading is nobody has an official quote or like somebody said this, but every article that I've read has alluded to like the Phillies might be prioritizing the bullpen more than an outfield because they will just look to platoon in the outfield. But when you look at the offensive production or lack of
Rosarena and just forget about a platoon,
right? Exactly,
that'd be
because
cool
the offense, in my opinion. When you look at the last 3 series, you had a great series. You sweep the Dodgers. You scored 10 in the first game. It's awesome. The vibes are high. We're all getting irrational. And then the next 3 series, the A's, the Pirates, you now have the Twins where they're struggling. And a big part of that struggle is they haven't been able to score runs. Mm-hmm. And this team has been doing a good job offensively. So if the bullpen is the priority, a name like Tanner Scott has been thrown out there. It has been said in one of the articles I read about the reasoning why they would try to bring in a Tanner Scott is because of Jose Alvarado's struggles, and now he's been down. Now, some of the numbers on Tanner Scott, he is, as some execs say, one of the best relievers available on the market.
I think he's the best, unless Mason Miller is made available.
Yeah, well, apparently the A's aren't looking to move Mason Miller, so that's why Tanner Scott's name has jumped up the ranks.
So that means, Renee, it's going to cost you.
Correct. He is an unrestricted free agent after the season. He's had 41 appearances, 42 2/3 innings pitched. He's 6-5 with 16 saves, a 1.27 ERA, a 1.008 WHIP, 48 Ks, 1.92 Ks per walk, and his walk rate has decreased each month. Now, for Tanner Scott, the Marlins have absolutely been struggling.
Jose Alvarado's walk rate has increased each month.
So you have a guy that's on the downward path and a guy that's trending upward. And the Marlins have struggled, and we all know they are a team that has been rumored, Jazz Chisholm, all these different guys that they're looking to possibly move to be able to rebuild. And when you have one of the best true closers in the game in a Tanner Scott, and his numbers as we look at, he just came off of his first All-Star selection of his career. He's been a great addition for them. He's a lefty. He just turned 30 years old, and he has a 3.66 ERA over his 8-year career. And he would honestly be what the Phillies would have as like a rental. He's someone that, as we said, is going to be a free agent after this year. So the price could change because of that. But he is someone that, given the struggles of Jose in the bullpen, you could bring in a Tanner Scott and he could help solidify as a high leverage guy.
Yeah. He's going to cost you because in June, John Heyman basically named like the 4 World Series favorites as the teams interested in him. It was the Dodgers, the Orioles, the Yankees, and the Phillies. Now, the Yankees have their own problems, and Juan Soto came out yesterday and said, it's going to take more than me and Aaron Judge to win a World Series here. So you wonder if they've fallen off. But then you're competing.
The honeymoon phase is over?
Yeah, but then you're competing with the Dodgers and the Orioles, perhaps. And just this Sunday, Bob Nightingale keeping a close eye on him. So Tanner Scott appears on their radar. When you're, dealing with teams on the doorstep of a championship, it's going to cost you. So my good friend Pat Egan did this little deep dive yesterday on some recent closers that have been traded around baseball to kind of understand, what it's going to cost you type of thing. So these are some of the examples of high leverage bullpen arms at the time. Craig Kimbrell went from Atlanta to San Diego. He was traded with BJ Upton. He went for 2 vets and the Padres number 4 and 15 prospects. Aroldis Chapman went from the Reds to the Yankees for the Yankees number 8 and 24 prospect. And included in that trade was Caleb Cotham. Chapman from the Yankees to the Cubs went for a lot for a rental, as Pat points out, prospects number 1 and number 6. Josh Hader in 2022 went from Milwaukee to the Padres for their number 9 and number 3 prospects. Edwin Diaz, he was a little different because he was packaged with Robinson Cano at the time, but they went to the Mets for the Mets number 3 prospect, Jared Kelenic, and the 6th pick in the draft that year. So to give you Tanner Scott is that rental. He's probably going to cost you something in your 6th and 12th ranked prospect, something in that type of range. So it's not like a debilitating trade. It certainly gives you a back end guy that you have confidence in. He's having a phenomenal year. He's going to make himself a lot of money next year. I would classify Tanner Scott as a big splash at the trade deadline if that's the guy they get, because then all of a sudden you're looking at the way Soto's been pitching recently. Sir Anthony's back. You got Strom, who's had a couple hiccups, but normal. Orion's been phenomenal this year. Hoffman's been phenomenal this year. Alvarado, we know the ups and downs with, more down lately than up.
Yeah.
You throw a Tanner Scott back in there, I mean, that's a bullpen that nobody wants to see in a series. Yeah. So I totally get where they're coming from. It does kind of feel like there's a good chance they go after this guy.
Yeah, I mean, it comes down to what do you think will, if you had to choose come postseason, what do you think could be the biggest Achilles heel for this team? Not having a bullpen
last year,
arm,
I would say,
not having a... Yeah, because
I mean, game 6 and 7, the bats went cold, no doubt about it. Right. But Rob Thompson was kind of, in a way, forced to go to Craig Kimbrell too often.
Right. And even Orion, who wasn't really ready, and had to go back-to-back games.
And I can't even blame Rob for not going to Orion more, because Orion had given you, 3 regular season appearances and a couple in the playoffs.
And
like
I think he was like the Met series.
Like in the NLCS, I think he was at 8 innings on the year or something. So I totally understand why he didn't go to him. But man, when you talk about throwing out a bullpen, which everybody knows in the playoffs is so important, of that magnitude, I mean, that's filthy. You all of a sudden become, I think, hands down the best bullpen in baseball, and that's an immense strength for them.
I think the hardest thing is we remember both of those being major issues. The bats went cold, and then we were all blaming the fact that Craig Kimbrell and Orion Kerkering had to be used in situations where it just felt like they were forced, they weren't ready, high leverage. I do feel like another thing on the offensive side, though, that's a difference is back then, the Phillies were home run or bust. And it hasn't really been that this season. Now, of course, as of late, as they scored 2 runs yesterday, literally just on a home run.
Yeah, literally a home run.
It actually completely goes against what I'm about to say. But when you look bigger picture at this season, not just last night's game, they have done a better job. We've seen them sprinkling some bunting. It's been a mixture of home runs, singles, doubles, just even sac flies, whatever it takes to be able to keep the inning alive, get on base. So they have done a better job of tweaking their offense to be able to have more versatility to it. And the bullpen is the same. I mean, you have a better Jeff Hoffman, you have a better Matt Strahm, you have a much better Orion, and even just a much more prepared Orion. Jose, unfortunately, has been the issue because had he been pitching better, I think it's a no-brainer that you would go. You still would probably bring in a bullpen arm, but you wouldn't need somebody like a Tanner Scott. You maybe are just bringing in, a middle reliever type of a situation. But for Orion, for Jose,
that bullpen would be. I'd be hard. I know 2008 was phenomenal, and you had guys like Scott Air and J.C. Romero, like your minimal contributors, really like play major roles for you. And Ryan Madsen was spectacular in front of Lidge. But like on paper, if you were to add Tanner Scott to this bullpen, I would have to think it's the most talented bullpen I've seen in my Phillies life.
It would be really good.
He's that good this year, Tanner Scott.
On top of knowing how the starting pitching
just
with Zack and Ranger being able to get back to healthy, the return of JT, which helps overall with pitching. And now you add and have the truly the best bullpen. I mean, this team from the jump, from spring training, had predictions of being the best bullpen. But this would lock you in as absolutely being the best bullpen.
Yeah, I mean, we've been talking about Tanner Scott since the first Marlins series of the year.
Literally.
Remember when we came out of that series? I think they lost it. And I was like, I know who I want, Tanner Scott.
It doesn't. Honestly, for Jose, who has now had a 9.95 ERA in his last 7 games, 6.43 ERA in his last 15 games, it's been a huge dip in the month of July for him. And Tanner Scott, as we mentioned, is trending in the right direction. So in the chat, I know you guys are jumping in, sharing your thoughts on, what your bullpen needs are and what you feel like. Honestly, a bullpen arm, you can, as we always say, is never a bad thing. On the other side, though, if they were to bring in an outfielder, not a bad option either, especially since you have Brandon Marsh, who has an 8.87 OPS against right-handed pitchers, but just a .378 against lefties. Obviously, we know the Phillies have been platooning Brandon Marsh with a Weston Wilson. We've seen the outfield also just not really have that versatility. Marsh can slide to center field. Yoro is a true center field. You don't have anybody that can play right field. And there's a guy out there that's very versatile that can play all 3 roles in the outfield. Also has been doing very well for his team, and that is Lane Thomas.
I wanted Lane last year.
Lane Thomas as an outfielder does enter arbitration 3 in 2025. He's a unrestricted free agent in 2026. Now versus righties in his 195 at-bats, he's slashing 210, 270, 344. He's got 14 extra base hits, 5 home runs, 26 RBIs. Versus lefties in his 85 at-bats, he's slashing 329, 414, 518 with 9 extra base hits, 3 home runs, 13 RBIs, and he's got a career-high 25 stolen bases.
That right there versus lefties is
Lanes traditionally do well in Philly. We've got some great lanes that have come and played here. For Lane Thomas,
Lane Johnson.
That's all I got.
I was gonna say, is there more?
But I mean, like that's not
Lance
a popular
is
name.
close.
That's
Lance
not a popular
Parrish
name. Like to have 2 lanes is still
Lane,
more than
any other lanes.
No.
No, I can't think of any.
But Lane Johnson has raised the bar very high.
I mean, he's a Hall of Famer, so that's a really good lane.
That's what I'm saying. We got some great lanes here. So Lane Thomas, come join. But yes, looking at his numbers against lefties and righties, Lane Thomas has been doing great. He actually was on the IL in late May and actually has returned better. His batting average increased to a 2.52. His OPS increased to a 7.22 coming out of his stint on the IL. And for Thomas, he could absolutely be that guy. That he's got the versatility, as mentioned. He can play right field, left field, or center field. He does become a free agent in 2025. So he's somebody that is a guy that a lot of teams are keeping their eye on. And I think for what the Phillies need,
no, he's a free agent in 2026.
Oh, excuse me.
He's arbitration eligible year 3 next year.
Yes.
So he's making 5.4 now. You figure next year he's probably going to be in that 6.2, 6.3 roughly kind of range,
right?
Which is basically what you paid Whit Merrifield this year. So it's not like the only two Phillies not on the roster next year are Jeff Hoffman and Spencer Turnbull. So you only have 2 guys not locked up next year. Lane Thomas isn't going to cost you a ton. You already paid Whit Merrifield that basically to go away. So like financially, he makes sense. That extra year of control makes sense. His numbers are down a little bit this year, which I think helps in terms of value you have to give up. The question is, and Tyler and I were talking about this before the show, the Nat, because he's what, 28?
He's 28. Number 28.
So
28.
like the Nats are at a point in their rebuild where they're starting to see fruit bear.
Yeah.
Is age 28 the age that you want to get rid of? Do you want to hold him till next year and get rid of him when he's a true free agent? Do you have plans on signing him? I would imagine he gets moved. I think I can tell you a friend of mine knows on good authority that Lane Thomas has been discussed with the Phillies. I think they kicked the tires on him last year as well. So I think he's a guy, and you saw versus lefties because he is going to be the Marsh platoon.
Yep.
Those are really good numbers. So I think Lane Thomas makes a lot of sense. If I had to wager today, right now, who they get, I would bet on Lane Thomas.
Okay.
I think the reason we started with these 2 guys is I think they're the 2 most realistic.
Yeah.
I think Tanner Scott, after Jim's conversation yesterday, is the big splash move. Lane Thomas, I know Tyler loves the WAR stat. He's only a 0.1 WAR player this year.
Yes. But
last year he was phenomenal.
There's a reason that he's only a 0.1, and I will indulge you the WAR conversation because there, in this particular instance, there is a reason he is effectively a league average player.
All right.
Every single year of his major league career, he has averaged, not every year, but he's averaged about 1.2 offensive WAR per season. He's been in the league for 6 years. He has a 7.4 total offensive WAR. He is a less than average defender. And this year, I think he's even worse, and that's probably marred in the fact that he's still probably recovering from the injury a little bit, which doesn't make a ton of sense to me because he's stealing bags. Like, he's got 25 career stolen bases, like we pointed out, but he's not he's never been even a good defender. He's probably a bad defender. But I think the injury may have caused a slip defensively even further. So when he's a 1.2 offensive WAR, but a negative one defensive WAR, it's going to average out to be about a league average defender.
So
and that's
what you're
why
saying is worse than Marsh, better than Schwarber.
Defensively?
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
somewhere in the middle.
Everybody's probably better than Schwarber.
We're talking about 2 extremes. Marsh is like in the best.
But here's the thing with Marsh. We've kind of talked about this a lot. Marsh is a much better defensive left fielder than he is a defensive center fielder. He is a average to maybe good defensive center fielder. He is a good to potentially great defensive left fielder. And that's why, to me, I think that this type of split would make more sense if you're looking from a defensive standpoint, where Rojas does tend to get more reps or will get more reps defensively in center field, and you split a Lane Thomas, Brandon Marsh platoon.
Yeah, and I like the versatility that Lane Thomas adds, that you even have options there if needed. He can slide into right field. He can slide in the left field. He can play center field. The Nationals are a team. We saw the trade with Hunter Harvey to the Royals. That happened before the break. They are looking to maybe make some moves. I know on the trade deadline buzz radar, they've been listed as, or Lane specifically, Laney is his nickname. I didn't make that up.
I'm out. Don't go for this guy now.
No,
that's such a lazy nickname. That's like a hockey guy name.
Why do they just throw E on the end of everybody's name?
Yeah, they just throw a E or a Y.
Man, but he is somebody that for the Nationals is one of their better players, and it does seem like right now, to your point, Jamie, about where are the Washington Nationals now in their build, they have brought up top prospect James Wood, as we know. They also have Dylan Cruz. I know. Good pickup by you. Dylan Cruz. They've been bringing in a lot more youth, and this would be a move that they could make to bring in some prospects possibly. So Lane Thomas could make sense for the Nationals and for the Phillies, which makes it a win-win for us if they were able to add another depth piece and a guy that can give you good at bats and be that platoon piece with Brandon Marsh.
Well, and guys, by the way, one more thing.
What did you just see?
Go ahead, Tyler.
For the Nationals' sake, we've talked about the Nationals kind of coming out of that rebuild, turning a corner a little bit. I think within the next couple of years, if all of these guys pan out the way we're expecting them to, like you brought up Renee, James Wood, and all these guys. If all these guys pan out the way that we expect them to, this is going to be a team that's going to be starting to be ready to compete. On top of all of that, Patrick Corbin comes off the books this year.
Ooh,
$35 million
for the Nats.
comes off the books this year.
The worst contract in baseball history?
It's probably up there. I mean,
it's probably top 3 or 4.
The Rendon contract.
Rendon's really bad, yeah.
So Patrick Corbin comes off the books next year. That's $35 million of free cap space that they're able to obtain. I'm not sure they go out and spend it frivolously this year.
Or bring Juan Soto back.
But that would be funny. But the fact that they're going to have money to spend probably prompts them to move on from guys that they don't feel are part of their core.
Yeah.
And then they can go out in the next, maybe not this season coming up or this offseason coming up, but next offseason, they may go out and start to spend some money.
All right. Yeah. You want to know why my eyes lit up?
Tyler had me. I love what you're saying, Tyler, but the suspense is killing me.
Yeah, what you're saying makes a lot of sense. We might be back.
What just happened?
Who's we?
Nothing happened. We, as in my irrational Luis Robert dreams.
Oh, boy. What? Okay.
Jeff Passan just put out a story. Teams looking to capitalize. And I know we're getting out of here, so this is going to be a great cliffhanger for tomorrow's show. Jeff Passan, here's what he wrote on ESPN about the impending trade deadline. Philadelphia Phillies, adding within reason. The Phillies might not be terribly busy because when you're on a 103-win pace with the best run differential in baseball, little additions don't do much. But there is no better fit than Philadelphia and Robert. The one thing the Phillies lack is an impact center fielder, and they've got the prospects to tempt Chicago. Philadelphia could make depth trades to protect in case of injury, and if talks for Robert go nowhere, they could consider grabbing a corner outfielder and sliding Brandon Marsh to center, where he has played 22 games this season. If they stay put, there's still no doubt the World Series contender with 4 all-star caliber starting pitchers, a bullpen replete with some of the nastiest stuff in baseball, and a lineup that's second in the National Leagues in runs per game, just behind the Dodgers. He just gave me a little bit of hope. 7 days out. A little bit of hope. Jeff Passan, thank you, sir. That's enough for me to get high on for the next 7 days.
There you go.
Do the deal.
Do the deal.
You can't live afraid of injuries.
No. We've already lived and do the deal. Don't be
Marcus Mariota ended up here, Tyler. The deal was done.
We are going to have to continue to keep our eyes on Luis Robert heading to the Phillies. Can it happen? Will it happen?
Imagine slotting him in the 4-hole behind Bryce.
Oh, my goodness.
And then Bohm in the 5.
That's
Real
trouble. I wish we could have him play today because today we've got Zack Wheeler getting the start for the Phillies. 10-4 on the season with a 2.70 ERA, 126 strikeouts. Simeon Woods Richardson gets to start. The right-hander for the Twins is 3-1 with 3.51 ERA and 71 strikeouts. Of course, the Phillies need to get back on track after dropping their 5th game in the last 7 outings. Of course, all this on the heels of sweeping the Dodgers. So it's time to get back. It would be lovely to get a nice win tonight. Hopefully there's no weather issues in that 7:40 start at Target Field. Hopefully it could be a nice, easy game. The offense is clicking. The from Zack Wheeler all the way to the bullpen, the pitching staff is sharp, and then we can focus our attention on getting irrational about Luis Robert because I think that would be amazing.
Why not?
Why not?
You have him for like 5 more years.
Now.
Oh, he's always hurt. Go get a cat. Tyler might have. Give me a break.
Stop with the cat.
You need to keep that kitten.
I am not.
You're getting that
if you don't
kitten.
keep that
we are
kitten,
finding this cat.
Do it for Luis Robert. Name him Luis.
Yes.
He looks like a Luis.
Or Bobby Bo.
Lou Bob. Old Lou
Bobby
Bob.
Bo.
We are finding the cat's owner.
Yeah.
That's
Lou
the
Bob.
plan today. When I go home,
This is my kitten,
I'm
Lou
finding
Bob.
this cat's owner.
Good luck.
All right,
Good
will
luck.
you make this deal with me?
Oh.
If they get Luis Robert, you're keeping the kitty?
I think if we find the owner before then, I won't have it.
You're not finding
No,
it.
it's a pretty quick turnaround because we have 7 days and you have a lot of houses.
That's a good line.
Yeah.
You know?
You have a lot of houses to try to go. Are you going door to door?
You have to talk to my wife.
She wants the cat.
She definitely wants the cat.
Yeah.
Why did you guys even? She brought the cat home. That's how you know she wants the cat.
No,
the cat
she
was
brought the
up
cat
a tree
home because she is like the most compassionate animal.
Does she like Luis Robert Jr.?
Exactly why she's going to keep
she
it.
knows Luis Robert exists.
Throw Lubob by her as a kitten name.
The cat was up a tree?
Yeah.
Is that where
No, I was in a bush.
Yeah, she could have left it.
My dog chased it into a bush.
Yeah, exactly. So they're already friends. It's already a match made in heaven. You've got Spike and Tom, and you've got your cat dog combo. Yeah, everyone in the chat is saying keep the cat.
Keep the cat. Go get Lou Bob. Let's go for it.
Let's make it all happen. Let's get it rational. Tyler Zulli is going to be a kitten old owner, and the Phillies are going after Luis Robert, and they're going to win tonight, and all these positive things are happening. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to PHLY Phillies podcast. It's a big week for us here. I got to beat up on Jamie in fantasy baseball. I didn't talk about it today, so K-Red was saying.
It's because you're not winning yet.
I know, but I'm going to win. Right now, I'm trailing by like 7 points, but it's only Tuesday. It's only Tuesday.
And post-game show for us tomorrow.
Yes, we'll be back for a post-game show tomorrow, our regular 11 a.m. Thursday.
Minnesota's close to Chicago.
Friday.
Maybe you just do it now, so it's an easy commute for old Lou Bob, you know?
I know. I agree. Yeah, let's make it happen. Let's make all the magic happen. All right, guys. See you guys tomorrow for our post-game show as we are going to be hopefully talking about and recapping a series win for the Phillies over the Minnesota Twins. Win tonight, win tomorrow, and the good times are back. Thank you guys for tuning in. For Tyler, Jamie, myself, Renee, and our new kitten, no name,
Lou Bob.
It's been nice. See you guys next time.
We all silly like the mayor.